Good afternoon. Today we are going to look at ED pronunciation. That is a pronunciation for simple past regular verbs. Before we start, let's talk about what simple past regular verbs are. So what are simple past regular verbs? Well, the simple past regular verbs are verbs that end with ed in the past tense. For example, rob, robbed, ed. Ask, asked, ed. Wait, waited, ed. However, although the spelling of verb plus ed is easy, the pronunciation is trickier. There are three ways to pronounce ed. These are d, t, and id. D, for example, robbed. T, for example, asked. And id, for example, waited. Now let's look at voiced versus voiceless sounds. That is d versus t. Okay, voiced sounds. So what are voiced sounds? Well, some sounds cause our throats to move when we pronounce them. They cause the vocal cords in our throats to move. For example, b, g, d, v, z, n, j, and all vowels. E, I, O. On the other hand, voiceless sounds don't cause your throat to move. They don't cause the vocal cords in your throat to move. For example, p, k, t, f, s, sh, ch. So why is this important? Well, if the verb ends with a voiced sound, then we use d for ed. For example, b, such as rob, robbed. For example, g, such as beg, begged. Z, for example, use, such as used. On the other hand, if the verb ends with a voiceless sound, then we use t for ed. For example, p, such as mop. For example, mopped. K, such as pick. For example, picked. And s, such as fuss. For example, fussed. So, if the verb ends with a voiced sound, then ed is pronounced as d. Rob, robbed. And if the verb ends with a voiceless sound, then ed is pronounced t. For example, p, mop, mopped. Note that each word has the same number of syllables even after adding ed. For example, rob, one syllable, robbed, one syllable. Mop, one syllable, mopped, one syllable. Now let's talk about id, the other pronunciation. When a regular verb ends with a t or a d sound, the past tense will have an id. For example, demand, demanded, demanded. Wait, waited, waited. Please note that each word has an extra syllable after adding ed. For example, demand, 2 syllables. Demanded, 3 syllables. Wait, for example, wait, 1 syllable. Waited, 2 syllables. Let's look at past participle adjectives. The rules for ed, the pronunciation for ed, also apply for past participle adjectives. For example, the students are bored. D. T. The wrecked car drove fast. Wrecked. And id. The netted fish flopped around. Id. So let's do a quick summary now. Remember, if the verb ends with a voiced sound, then we use d for ed. Robbed, robbed. If the verb ends with a voiceless sound, then we use t for ed. T, for example, asked, asked. And if the verb ends with t or d sounds, the past tense will have an id sound. For example, wait, waited, id. These rules also apply for past participle adjectives. That's adjectives with verb plus ed. For example, wrecked car. Well, that concludes this presentation. If you have any thoughts, questions, or concerns, please email me. And thank you so much for watching. Please have a wonderful rest of your day.